You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you ready to learn the 3 secrets to launching a successful podcast? Hi, I'm Bill, a recent client of the Podcast Mogul. If you've been thinking about starting a podcast but aren't sure where to begin, he's got you covered. He is hosting a free webinar where he will share the 3 secrets that can help you launch, grow, and monetize your podcast without any fancy equipment or technical headaches. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot now and let him help get your podcast off the ground.
Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. Join the podcast mogul Phil Better as he interviews successful entrepreneurs that make their living in the digital world. Now, let's join your host, Phil Better, and his special guest today on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast.
Hey, digital entrepreneurs. You're tuned into another power-packed episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Phil Bennett, the podcast mogul, and I have got a guest who is not just an attorney for over a decade, but a serial entrepreneur with a resume that reads like a business success story. At the tender age of 30, our guest acquired their first company, followed by another at 33. But that just wasn't enough for them. They took the plunge into startups, determining to learn from the ground up and avoid the pitfalls others had stumbled into. Fast forward 30 plus years, and they're gearing up to launch yet another venture. And that's just not all, folks. Our guest is a true juggler, not just in business, but in life. They own a charitable foundation, not one, not two, but 3 different companies spanning nutrition, mindset, and real estate investing. Now, that's what I call a diversified success portfolio. And without further ado, please give a warm welcome to the incredible Merri-jo Hillaker. Merri-jo, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Well, thank you so much. And I don't want you to build me up to be incredible. My whole goal is to help everybody else live their dream life. And
Well, yes, obviously, I look at my life as a hype man for anybody who comes on my podcast. Because I'm just so happy to have someone who is distinguished as you on the podcast, with starting at 30, buying your first business. Now you have 3 businesses that you run, plus you got your channel. Like, I'm sorry, how you're doing that. I'm still trying to manage one podcast. So if I built you up, it's because in my eyes, it's well deserved. So again, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to jump into our conversation.
Sure.
So
Great.
with all the fanfare and all
Well,
that.
let me just answer one question for you right now, because you built me up to have all these 100 things going on, right? So let me just give the audience one clue right here.
Yes, please.
Time is your only limited asset. Money's everywhere. So look at your time and choose wisely how you spend your time. And when you do that, now you can create everything I'm talking about, because every time I create something, I'll find somebody else to run it, or I'll find something else to do here. So it's applying all the principles. My time is my only limited asset.
Oh, I like that. That's genius. So first of all, I want to know, how did you start becoming an entrepreneur, and why did you become an entrepreneur? What was it that just decided, hey, I'm going to become an entrepreneur? Because you were an attorney beforehand, correct?
Yes. In fact, I was very successful. I was in a huge law firm, Foley and Lardner, for 3 years. A internationally publicly traded company came along. I did some work for them, and they hired me away as vice president general counsel at the ripe age of 28 years old. So here I was in this. Now, a lot of people would say, you're set for life. Oh my gosh. I mean, I could have been if I sold out Merri-jo, but I wasn't going to sell out myself. So you can be in those plum jobs making tons of money, but if you're not totally happy, if you're not experiencing joy every day, you haven't found who you are and what's going to make you happy. And that's what sent me on this. I'm out of here. I'm going to do some work on myself, do some discovery about what's really going to make me happy. And probably the number one discovery was, what are my core values? Who am I? Because each of us have different sets of core values. So that's one of my favorite discovery projects I do with most people I work with in coaching is find out who you are first. Because I can tell you all the great ways of being a great lawyer and get head of companies and start your own company, but that may not be you. I want you to be the best you. And that's where you're going to have the greatest joy. So that's my heart and passion today, is really help people to discover themselves. If you can't answer the question, what are your core values, then you're going to stay stuck.
Ooh, I'm excited because then I know this conversation is going to be amazing. So at the ripe age of 28, you were big in a law firm, got hired out to be general of vice
president, general counsel, publicly.
Yes, yeah, a huge title.
Yeah, big dollars.
Big dollars too. That's going with it, and then you decide to say buy a business.
Yeah, walk away from it.
Walk away from all of it. Say nope, ciao. And what kind of business did you buy?
Well, the first one I bought, it was actually a fish food company. Okay. It just came up as an opportunity. And a friend of mine said, come on, Merri-jo, join me in this. So I said, why not? So it was a way of expressing myself instead of allowing somebody else to control my day. Now I get to control my day. So I was taking back control of my life. And so it really didn't matter what the business did. It was never going to be my forever future. It was just jumping into entrepreneurship, having your own business. And so I looked at it from that perspective. It's just another stepping stone in my life. And it was a terrific experience. It taught me how I was quite uneducated on how to run a business. I also needed better skills on dealing with employees and those kind of issues, because most lawyers don't ever have to grapple with that. You might have a secretary, but that's about it. So it was a whole new experience, but it expanded my horizon and understanding how little I knew about all that and how much further growth I needed in my life. So yeah, but it was exciting. It was a good thing.
I love that. I love how you looked at it as, hey, this is a learning experience.
Everything.
It may fail, but I still get those skills where I need to improve, or it becomes a massive success and hey, another feather in my cap, and I can move on and see what else can happen.
Exactly. And that's so true. All of our bad experiences, that's a problem with most people. They have a negative experience, like shuttering a business, and they don't wake up for 15 years because they're still beating up on themselves. Here's what I teach. Anything that goes awry in your life, it could be, you just screwed up your backyard garden. As small as and as big as a business goes bankrupt for you. And the first thing you do is you go, what worked, what didn't work, and what's next? Those are your three whats. So notice where your focus is on the third one. What's next? You've got to learn from your experiences, but put them behind you just to be better the next go around. Because you might have 10 go-arounds in your life. You don't know your path, but you sure as heck don't want to carry negative experiences, except for, what did I learn from it? Where's my growth from it? I'm just getting better, right?
I love that. And that's such a reason why I started this podcast, Invest in Yourself, is because every experience you do is a penny into your compounding future, if you will, with the stocks and all those money terms that come to mind when you're talking about investing. So was your first foray into the world of business a success? Well, obviously it was a success. We know it was a success because you're here today talking with us. But was it the success that you guys had envisioned for it, or you were talked about when you first started the business?
In my first,
yes, my first go around, your first go around.
My first two, out of being VP General Counsel, my first purchase, getting involved in a business, that one got shuttered. So I bought another one, tried a different industry. That one I ended up shuttering because of a disaster. The building collapsed under the weight of a storm. And it just made no sense to try to rebuild it all. So I had two businesses shutter, right? And then I started looking and said, okay, how do I help myself be better? I started investing in some self-development work, really spending some time with some gurus in the industry and reading some great books to just say, okay, it's time to really build you. You build your brain and your intelligence with all the law school and undergrad. Now it's time to build you. Who am I? Right. So that's how I went through that next process. And that's what set me free. Now I have my own businesses. I have a business called Global Mindset Mastery. I teach not only individuals. In fact, you can go on my website, Merri-jo Hillaker, and get a free consult if you want to. I love, my number one, well, let's go back, core value analysis. Merri-jo's came out, number one core value, contribution. If I'm in contribution, there's no greater joy. Just like being on your podcast today, no greater joy, right? This is impacting lives. So I love doing that. So discovering your core values, and then when you start living your life exactly by those core values, there's no greater happiness. There's no greater joy.
Oh, I kind of, I have to agree with you 100% there, because I know one of my core values is interviewing and learning from people. I love learning what I want to learn, and for getting to ask questions to people who have the success that I get to have on the podcast. It's like I get my own little masterclass, pretty much asking these questions to successful people that are far ahead of me or just slightly ahead of me, but all a great experience. That's, I know, is one of my core values. So that's why I love this podcast, and I started this podcast, and I fall in love every single time I jump on a call. No matter if I'm doing 100 episodes a day, I love every single one of them, because it just joyous. But I want to know, in your span of your career, managing, owning businesses, starting businesses, do you have a moment that just sticks out for you whenever you have like maybe a hard time? Because we know entrepreneurialism, we can have those hard days when we have to shutter our business, or we have to take a step backwards or a couple steps backwards before we get that forward momentum again. Do you have a memory or a moment that just sticks out to help you realign yourself, or just continue pushing forward?
Well, I think it happens daily, not just when you have the downsides, right? I think moments in our life, if you're living this life thinking everything's going to turn up roses, you're like, coming from the moon or something. I don't know that planet that you're from, but it doesn't exist here on Earth. There are always going to be disappointments in life. And that's where you start off with just acknowledging, no matter what you do, you're always going to come up against roadblocks and disappointments. So preparing yourself to know that's part of the process allows you to get through those, because it's just part of the process. And as I say, iron sharpens iron. So every one of those moments is, again, what did I learn from this? How am I becoming a better person because this happened? Even if you make a mistake, how are you becoming a better person? You look back and go, well, I learned a lesson not to try XYZ again because now I know it doesn't work. Or I learned a lesson, go get good advice before I jump in on making a decision like that, before I just like flip flop, right? And watch myself lose another 10 grand or 5 or whatever it is. Or what's more important than the money is what? Our most important asset, time. Exactly. So, that's why I like to suggest to people as entrepreneurs is surround yourself with some great experts. And, the price you might pay for those is nothing compared to the price you'll pay without them.
Very true. I know if I didn't have the experts in my life, being able to chat with the experts on this podcast, I wouldn't be able to be where I am today and the success that I am today. I want to go into your new iteration, who you are today, the eSuccess network. What was the goal of creating this network and this iteration of your business?
Great. Well, again, go back to my number one core value of contribution. I've been so incredibly successful. I love giving back. And one of my soft points in my life is watching women who are either trapped in marriages or trapped in trying to discover themselves, or, societal woes that are out there, whatever it might be. And so I have a huge affinity for women who are trying to make it work. And I know there are 101 different people out there that claim expert status. Let me help you do this. And there's just so much of it. So I looked at that and I said, what if you could come to one platform one website that had 20 experts, entrepreneurial experts that can help you from everything from A to Z, whether it's mindset or product or, marketing strategies or who are you anyway, looking at what's your values, so what really is going to bring you the greatest joy in life, doing those so you have one group of all these experts at one website that you can become a member of that and get some free programs and have an informal board of directors that'll hear your issues so you can bounce ideas off of people. What a great support system and network for all these women that are out there trying to do it. So that was the whole premise I had. And I had a friend of mine who's just sold her business or is in the process of selling her business. She started from scratch. So she decided she wanted to join forces with me and do this together. So hopefully we're going live in April. And I'm so excited about that because that's truly, it's that monster give back every moment of my life, right?
Yeah, that's huge. And I love that it's obviously you're going after someone who very well, because being a female in entrepreneurialism, the pitfalls having gone beforehand, and what kind of experts you need. And now you bring them into one location so that women from across the world can find the experts that they need. I love that. That is that's like if you will, a nuclear bomb of giving back. It's just going to affect so many people with this because of the multiplication effect. These X number of experts helping X number of people who end up helping X number of people and going forward and changing world. I think that's incredible. And I'm looking forward to having you back after you've launched and to see some of the success from the eSuccess network. I want to know, since you manage so many companies, plus you manage a charitable foundation on top of it, like how did before we go into how you manage all your time and that, how did the charitable foundation come about and what is it on?
Oh, this is great. This is another great story. Okay. So anyway, at one point in my life, it was way back, probably 20 years ago or something. A friend of mine said, Merri-jo, I'm starting this company. We're coming up to, we need $20,000 if you're interested in putting 20,000 in. And so I looked at it and I said, well, yeah, this sounds like it could work. It was in a little company in Cibolo, Texas. So I gave $20,000 into that company. Well, 3 years later, they landed a contract with a distribution network called Walmart.
Oh, I think I've heard of them. I think I may have heard of them. They're kind of here in Canada. They're just starting. I hear they're a small company.
Small little upstart company.
Yeah.
And so what happened is this company, publicly traded out of Ohio, swept in and bought this company up out of small little town of Texas. And my 20,000 became $1.1 million.
That's a good investment.
Is that a good return?
Yeah, I have to say, I wouldn't be sad with that return of investment.
Anyway, well, I said to myself, first of all, I'm being a tax lawyer, of course, too. I don't want to give the IRS all this. And so I immediately, before the payout came, I immediately set up a charitable foundation and put the stock in the charitable foundation. After donating a couple $100,000 to my church, I donated the rest of the stock to the charitable foundation. So the IRS got effectively zero out of all of that. And that's how I started my charitable foundation. And I called it Changing Environments because it's really another give back. It's about capturing people at any stage of your life where you're going through major hardships to try to say, there's something greater out there for you, and helping them work through those tough times.
I love that. I love how an investment, and because everybody loves the IRS, ended up helping more people, which I love. I love how you took a $20,000 investment. 3 years later, it's now 3 years after investing, it's now helping hundreds of thousands of people going forward with that small little investment. I think that's a kind of like what I sometimes say is you have to be a bit selfish before you can start giving back, because you have to take care of yourself first before you can start giving back. And before you could start giving back to a larger community, you had to give back to their small community, and he's a small person, and it just ripple effects. I love it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Also, it's a great story. So it's an amazing story.
The other great thing about this story, let me highlight this for people, because I teach about people's relationship with money. You know, we're really screwed up in our relationship with money. We get a bunch of money and we hold on to it like it's the last dollars we're going to see, right?
Yeah.
And if you come up with a strategy, because at the time I did that, this is over 20 years ago, I wasn't even worth $1 million, right? I wasn't even close. But when you can give away more money than your net worth like that, that opens up endless possibilities for you in terms of attracting more money to you. And most people don't understand that. They think, okay, I got to invest it. I got to make this. I can put it over here. I can put it over here. And then you spend the rest of your life watching all the stock markets and doing all, instead of, wow, what are you here for anyway? Watching your money grow? I find that incredibly dissatisfying. There's so many needs in this world today that you could meet if you wanted to come from contribution versus hoarding cash, right? Do you get some victory lap when you die and all your friends and family inherit $10 million from you? I'd rather get a victory lap every day I do something special for somebody out there. And that's the victory laps you want to experience.
Oh, I love that. Oh my God. I love this conversation, Merri-jo, because I'm changing my mindset just having the conversation, but I know my audience is getting wisdom from you, not only just changing their mindset, but in how to look at businesses and that. If you were going to give, maybe not advice, maybe a part of a strategy for someone who's looking to set up a network to help more people, like you are helping women with a board of directors, if you will, a virtual board of directors. Someone's looking to start their own network for helping people either in small groups or have like a board of directors. What maybe strategy would you suggest they start with?
My first strategy is reach out to everybody you know who's a quality person who has some background that can help you. And don't find, some people look for the perfect person. Wrong. They don't exist. What you want to do is look at what are the traits that I'm going to need to exhibit in building this out, and go and find the people that can support that. Or what are the needs, and make your list of needs and specific, and go and find a support network that's going to support you to develop all those and to find the right people to be that wind beneath your wings. Because it's hard to create something as a solo. It's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Have a group of more people. I'm not saying you can't do it, but you're going to go through a lot more struggles than if you have a group of people. It's kind of like the whole story about building a village, having a village behind you instead of one person. Get your village structured of people, because anytime you're trying to do something, there's always people out there. I find that the majority of people have a giving heart and they love to be of contribution. You just have to find what is the category you're looking for? What am I looking for contribution here? What am I looking for here? And find the people that have those attributes or those specialties, and they'll be more than happy to sit down with you and just brainstorm a little with you. Most of them, you'll never pay a dime. You might have to pay some money out, but that kind of investment is an investment in you, investing in yourself. So do that first, and I'll tell you that your chances and your probability of success go off the charts, because now you're taking the knowledge and insight from people that have been around for 10, 20, 30 years, and you're accumulating all that into you in moving forward.
Oh, my mind's like just absorbing this information. And I'm like, where were you 20 years ago when I was just turning 18? I would love to have this. I do have a question about investing in yourself, Merri-jo, because you have had an incredible journey in entrepreneurship, from being an attorney to acquiring multiple companies and venturing into startups. Through it all, have you personally invested in yourself, and what advice do you have for others about the importance of self-investment in the pursuit of success, or their version of success?
Absolutely. I mean, it was bouncing out of all the success I had early on, and then a company here that failed. And I looked at myself and said, Merri-jo, you got to work on you first, right? The one common denominator in all of this is, oops, right here. And we don't like to admit that, but it's the truth. So go, be honest with yourself And I started investing in self-development programs and all sorts of programs like that. And I went into like 3 tiers, including a leadership course as well. And it really did wonderful things for me because it's not that I didn't know a lot of the stuff, but there were the tweaking. We can go, well, I've read so many books, and I go, oh my gosh, it's the experiential training that really makes all the difference. So I'm just suggest you look at, if it's just reading books, you can't get enough out of a book. When you experience things, the growth level is off the charts. So do some of that work and really invest in yourself, and then look at yourself. You'll start understanding, who am I? What are my core values? What's most important to me? What's going to bring my greatest joy? And just being able to, my idea is I want to live this life with as much joy as possible every day of my life. And who's got control over that? Not the world. Merri-jo does. So I can have the biggest tragedies in my life, and I've had some, but I can always overcome. And that's what's so cool about having the mindset right. Yeah.
I love that. And it's a great piece of advice for investing in yourself, and a great wisdom as well, I have to say. Merri-jo, you've given us a lot of wisdom in this full episode, and I feel kind of guilty asking you for a final piece here, but it's not really for me. It's for your 10-year-old self, because I have Merri-jo at 10 right here. She's a Spitfire, raring Texas, if you will, and gun ho. What's one piece of advice you would love to give your 10-year-old self?
I would probably go back and say, acknowledge that you know nothing, and go out there and learn from everyone that you honor, that you have respect, that's been, traveled those roads before you, and just take in the massive amount of, ideas and concepts that you can, and you'll use those and siphon through those to become the best version of yourself.
I don't know. I don't know how to finish this episode, because that's amazing advice, and not just advice, just mindset to have going forward. Like, it reminds me of if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Exactly.
Okay.
No, your ego is too overblown.
Yeah, that's it. I love being the dumbest person in a room, because I get to learn and become smarter and share knowledge that others may not have.
Well, but don't put it that way. I love to put myself in the posture of being the dumbest one in the room. We don't want to beat up on ourselves and call us the dumbest one. We want to say, hey, I'm going to come into this room with the idea that I'm here for one reason, to expand my knowledge. So no matter how smart you are, you don't have to declare yourself the dumbest. You're just going, all I want to do is grow. Because when we start labeling ourselves, that's a dangerous step to take.
You're right. You're right. I mean, I need to stop saying that I'm dumb. It's it's not a Middle Eastern, an Eastern philosophy. The body doesn't understand the difference if you're talking in jest or not. I love being in a room where I can always be surrounded by smarter people, so I can always grow and learn. There we go.
Perfect. Now listen, let's give him a hand.
Thank you. Merri-jo just changed me. If that doesn't sell you on Merri-jo, I don't know what will. This whole episode has sold me on Merri-jo, and I'm so happy to have her in my network. And it just being able to talk with you, Merri-jo. I'm going to jump off stage here. I want you to let my audience know where they can connect with you, how they can get that free consultation, anything you'd like. So the floor is yours.
Great. Thanks. Well, what a blessing to be here to touch your hearts and your minds, and hopefully take you a little bit outside the box. But you can get more Merri-jo. Just go Merri-jo Hillaker without the hyphen, merri-jo-hillaker.com, and that's my website. And you can sign up there for a free 30-minute consults. And yes, I am really interested in interfering in your life as well. Only from a good perspective. Great joy and many blessings to all of you. Hopefully you gained some things from this podcast.
Merri-jo, I can't thank you enough for coming on and blowing my own mind in the last few seconds of this episode. I can't thank you enough for being a guest.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. To my audience, as you know, I thank you very much for tuning in and listening every episode. If you want to connect with Merri-jo and get that free 30-minute consult, look no further than the show notes down below. And remember, I thank you, and always invest in yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Now it's time to take the next step. When you're ready to dive deeper into how to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast, Phil's got something special for you. Join him for a free webinar where he'll reveal the 3 secrets that have helped countless entrepreneurs succeed in podcasting. Click the link in the show notes to save your spot, and let's turn your podcasting dreams into reality.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.